Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 12th, 2020 meeting of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission. At this time, I would like to ask if anybody in the audience is recording the meeting. As we are, hearing none, we can move forward with the first order of business and call the roll.
Jeff Bosworth.
Craig Jernstrom.
Tom O'Brien.
Francis Corniati.
Tony Zampicini.
Next item of business was the approval of the January 22nd, 2020 minutes. These were just recently received. I haven't had time to look at it, so I'll entertain a motion to postpone the approval of these minutes to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item of business is the ratification of the orders of conditions for Robin Street and Smith Avenue. I took a look at those. I saw that we had the 50-foot in there for the dimension, and then also in our special conditions, it mentioned the French drain being like 10 feet off the driveway, and the front downspouts, and French drain shall be installed below the front downspouts. And I believe that was pretty much what we asked for.
Did we talk about drywall for that, or just the French drain
French
into a
drain.
drywall?
I thought we just did French drain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the condition says dry well and French.
Yeah, I thought it was a French drain that feeds into a
Yeah,
drywall.
drywall, yeah.
That's better.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's kind of covered, yeah.
Perfect.
A dry well should be installed 10 feet off the driveway and French drains installed below the front downspouts.
And then under B on the front page, B findings, do any of those need to be checked off?
I was looking at that, and it's not really a drinking water supply. I mean, no shellfish, no fisheries. I mean, prevention of pollution and protection of wildlife habitat.
We might have storm damage prevention because you're talking about French drains.
Pardon me?
Storm damage prevention because you
Definitely, I think that would fit. Storm damage protection.
mentioned in your special conditions the need for the French
Oh,
drain.
okay, the
in
next
drive.
page, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the way the water drains down.
I guess we could put both of them. Storm damage and flood control.
Yeah. Is that what these sheets are for? Is
Right.
for that?
Right, so I'll take off the water mark and then insert those,
Okay.
the sign pages. Thank you. Was there any other boxes that we should check off under the findings?
The impacts. Does that bordering land flood? By where the houses are? Would they say that it floods when the water gets high? Part of their property, no?
Yeah, that's what we're saying, but it's just, the rise and fall of the water, and we've had a lot of rain last year, and that sort of thing. Are you thinking we should be checking something else in the findings?
I'm looking at 7, but maybe not. We can't really give it a determination, so.
Yeah, it's a wetland. That's different than what's called a bordering land subject to
Oh,
flooding.
Okay, thank
We
you.
run into those once in a while, where there was one on that Maple Street project. Remember, it was
Yeah.
between the wetland and the actual
So that's
property of the
already
house.
designated ahead of
Yeah,
time,
that's
sorry.
a different category, yeah.
Okay. Then that's it.
But yeah, I'm fine with that, just A being checked
Okay.
in the findings. Yeah. And 3, yeah.
So sorry, that was the
Yeah,
storm
3, the
damage
buffer zone.
prevention, flood control, and another one, or?
No, just
No,
those
When
two.
you are.
Yep.
Just those two.
So essentially, we just checked those two boxes. Other than that, everything was fine as submitted, I believe, right? I'll entertain a motion to approve the order of conditions for Smith Ave.
Second. Had you finished? Sorry.
It's okay.
I thought you'd finished. Okay.
So you made the motion?
Oh, I'll make the motion
Okay.
to
Second.
Any
accept.
further discussion?
Whoa, you guys lost me.
I'm sorry.
Let's start over again.
I was lost.
Je-
so.
Craig, you're
It's all right.
entertaining a motion, right?
Craig, you said you were
Yeah.
interested. You want to make the motion?
I make a motion, we accept the order of conditions as written with, you said you want to add a check mark onto a box
H and I, as we discussed.
with the check marks on H and I as we discussed.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that. That was me.
You know, you were talking about damage flood control, but I thought you said
Oh.
boxes A and B, but it was H and I. All right,
Okay.
okay.
Right now, I guess I'll, if nobody has an issue with it, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order so we can hear the proposal from the Eagle Scout project by Jason Chartier.
Yep, that's correct.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Come on up, Jason, have a seat.
Let me sit right here.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
I have some folders to hand out to you guys. If you don't mind. You want me to pass them out, or so
Yeah,
if I
sure,
just pass
sure.
them around?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You go. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if that was yours there.
All right, that's- include this.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, gladly.
Thank you. All right, so I am a Life Scout, or Troop 179, and I came to discuss the building of benches on the Brown Trail for my achievement of Eagle Scout. In the packets that I gave you guys, there will be several photos depicting like benches that I made in the 3D CAD software, as well as a few photos taken at the Brown property. My main source of fundraising for this will be like the Leone's restaurant fundraiser, to which they have already agreed to. My main reasoning behind doing this was to benefit like the increase of traffic and the general awareness of the trails at the Brown property, especially that they're mentioned in town documents to help to support the town's continued interest to use parts of the property for passive recreational purposes. People in the past have done this. A few years ago, my friend Nick Lehman, you may remember him, he hung up birdhouses,
they're still there,
disposable
yeah.
birdhouses. And just last year, my friend Sean Callahan built exercise equipment, I believe. And I'm planning to put benches right next to the exercise equipment so that people who work out, people who go onto the trails, have a place to sit after they're done if they're tired. Because I walked a little bit of the trails, it doesn't seem like there's much to sit around that area. I know there's a bench a little further down the trail, but not exactly in that area. And it's overlooking a nice gully area, so it's a good place to just have a sit. There's a pre-existing station. Yeah, used for like workouts. I already explained that. I've marked on the map of Brown Trail the location the benches will be. It's located in the dry land and on higher ground, so it seems that there will be no danger to water damage on the benches or damage to the ground itself. Thank you for listening, and I'll take any questions you have and answer them as best I can.
What are you making them out of?
Wood, and I'm lacquering them with, I'm not sure what with, I don't know much about woodworking, but I know it's not bad. I just know because my friend's father is a woodworker, and he said he can lacquer them for me, so that they won't erode or have anything bent in them.
You might think about a marine varnish.
I've never heard of that, but I'll consider, yeah.
It's UV, it protects against UV rays, and it's also made for wet conditions.
Sometimes known as spar varnish,
Mhm.
spa varnish.
You guys are reading my mind. So I think it's great you're doing this project.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think that you wanna treat it with something that's gonna last, that you can come back with your family someday and show them the bench you made as a kid.
Yeah, that's great.
Plus it's clear so that you see the natural graining of the wood.
Mhm. Thank you, appreciate it.
Were you planning on putting little concrete footings in for it, or this was just gonna rest on the ground, or?
So what I was gonna do is I was gonna let it rest on the ground, but if you would like me to, I can get something from, I'm not sure where I would get that from to put concrete in the ground. But, yeah, I can get some. If
I was just curious, that's all.
Yeah, I'm thinking of just resting it on the ground,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
But, then you might wanna consider pressure treated, at least for the columns,
Okay,
that are holding it up, or maybe setting it on some rocks or something, but on the ground is fine, and, no, I think it's a great idea, and it's just this one location that you've shown. You're talking about doing one bench there, or is it?
I'm doing two, so I'm doing one, and there's a juncture on the Brown Trail where there's two paths that meet, I'm gonna do one at the corner there. And then a little bit farther down the trail, there's a nice dry spot that doesn't have any trees nearby, so I don't have to cut anything down or anything. And I kicked up some of the leaves, and there doesn't seem to be much underneath it, just plain old ground, so,
Mhm.
and it's relatively flat.
Sorry, what kind of wood are you using?
I'm thinking about pine.
Ooh,
No?
No.
Okay.
if you want it to last
That's
forever,
why I
use
asked,
teak.
yeah.
Pine will rot.
What again?
I would go for teak,
That's TEAK?
T-E-A-K.
Alright.
Pine won't last.
Now, pressure treated, I mean, that's good, but then that gets kinda,
It has a lifespan, it lasts
it has a
20 years,
lifespan, but it gets you can get slivers off that.
Yeah,
Or teak, I mean,
When's your fundraiser?
The fundraiser, I haven't made a specific date for the fundraiser, cause I was planning on, cause if I got denied in this meeting to do the project, then I wouldn't have been able to do the fundraiser, so.
Could you just make sure we get extended invitations? Only, you're gonna bring your checkbook, right?
yeah.
I'll email you guys
All right.
a fundraiser thing, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Another option
Anytime.
for teak would be oak.
Okay,
Yeah, a hardwood.
Oak is a very hard wood and it's very durable.
thank you.
Pine is soft and it's gonna deteriorate very fast.
Thank you.
It's not heavy enough either. If you're not gonna ground it in cement, you wanna make sure that, it's solid.
Yeah, makes sense.
Sounds great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
it's a great idea too.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the board? I will entertain a motion to approve the Eagle Scout project to build benches for the Brown Trail.
So moved.
Seconded.
Is there any further discussion? No? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any? Good luck, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
So we'll put a memo together so that he has something in hand from the Conservation Commission that says
Yeah, you have something in here.
Yeah,
got
I
some-
made
he's
up,
got
I
a-
made
he's
up a
got a
little,
thing in
yeah, I
here
made up a
that's-
little document, I'm not sure if it has everything that you guys.
We can all sign
have.
it, or just have Craig sign it?
I just added
Agreement
one
of
to
benches
everybody.
on Brown Trail?
I'm not sure if
That's
everybody
mine.
can sign it or
Craig,
just one,
Craig,
so.
that's
We
mine.
probably still should send something in addition to this.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was something in specific you guys had that signed.
yeah, we'll get you something.
All right,
okay?
thank you.
Just give us a couple of days.
All right,
Okay?
I'll
thank
sign
you,
it so we
I
can
appreciate
give
it.
Good luck.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I'll give you this tonight so you at least have something in hand to
All right.
get started.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
What am I signing, my rifle, right?
3 copies.
going back to the regular agenda. Item number 2, hidden ponds.
Order of conditions.
I haven't been there in a little bit. Actually, I was. I was there last weekend.
Oh,
Was it raining?
And, no, it wasn't, I know. I didn't get there when it was in the last 2 days, but, as far as I'm concerned with it, right now, there hasn't been any major changes, and it looked pretty good from us, but, we did have the meeting with, the people from the DPW,
Oh, good.
and they were being proactive in doing some things, and one of the results of that is, Al has installed the heavier fabric in the storm, or in the catch basins. So there is no longer storm water that has a lot of erosion in it going into the catch basins and filling up the system. So when they're doing a few other things out there, we'll keep us posted, but it was a very good meeting.
There's three.
Sign those?
Yeah, two to sign, Craig.
Three.
There was three
There's-
there.
Oh, there was two?
Three.
Two that you didn't sign.
Oh, okay. The,
One more.
other than that, project monitoring, I guess one of the ones that I wanted to talk about too was some of the emails going around pertaining to this issue at Great Woods with the expired notice, or the expired orders of conditions, and I guess there was some issues with the way that was written in 2015. And everybody was emailed the conditions. One thing I did ask was about getting the drawings. I don't know if I'm 100% sure, but I'd like to think in 2015 they submitted those electronically. Or did-
I don't personally have access to that, they did.
But I guess if not, if we could ask Dan, or, it's not Dan, it's Dan Rulier, I forget the gentleman's name that comes in from them.
It's Rick Ranger. Rick
You're-
Ranger.
Yeah, Rick Ranger, yeah. If he could resubmit it, yeah.
Okay, so-
Because remember my email, I asked for just a couple of the drawings? One, the replication, the erosion controls, and the delineation. You know, we don't need the whole packet showing, you know, fire hydrants and electrical lines and all that sort of thing. But in reviewing that, there was a wetlands restoration there, and we definitely, back when we weren't doing as good of a job as we are now, with our project monitoring, we really need to go look at that out there. And we definitely need to have a couple of drawings to do it. I did look at my old stuff at home, and I definitely don't have.
So to clarify, you want the plan so you can go and figure out if he needs an extension or what?
We don't need the plans to figure that out.
Okay.
He needs the file,
Okay.
a
And
new
that's
notice, pretty much.
A new
It-
notice?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's what has been determined, but we need them to monitor the project.
Yeah, Mark Stinson raised a bunch of issues on that we really need to look at.
Yeah. Did anybody else have anything in project monitoring? I think that was the only other one that I went to, was just went to Hidden Pond again.
Still nothing from Terrace, so.
Oh, yes, his
Which
amended
one's that?
filing, yeah.
Which one, Jeff?
Helen Terrace, Sayers.
Heather was supposed to be doing an amended NOI,
Yeah,
yeah, this hasn't come in yet.
Pease Road, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I guess we can move on then. The next topic is about the local technical assistance item with the PVPC.
What's that?
The director's report?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the director.
Okay, so you all received a letter that was submitted to Kimberly H. Robinson, who's the Executive Director for Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, in regard to the Lca submissions for funding. So we submitted three requests, one for housing assessment, one for shared conservation commission, and one to continue our work on the large-scale solar working group. you probably know that we're working on a bylaw that all municipalities may use for large solar array installations. But what pertains to,
So you're working on a bylaw?
oh, yes, so.
Because I thought the town passed a bylaw a long time ago.
Yes,
So, you're looking to change that?
amend, yes. So under Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, we've been meeting for about a year now, not quite a year, started about a year. There have been, as you probably know, the SMART program. We call it SMART 1 and SMART 2. And SMART, the initial SMART program, the blocks filled faster than anybody imagined. So, and the result of this program, or the success of this program, is that many solar installations have been constructed, and the western and central parts of the state have been most impacted by deforestation, and other clear-cutting measures. So we got together through Pioneer Valley Planning Commission at the request of Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for different municipalities within western and some in central Massachusetts to meet and work together, share our existing bylaws, and talk about how we may amend them. So we have a template for municipalities to adopt in the hopes that it may mitigate some of the damage to the environment that's occurring. And with solar, yes, it's an opportunity to harness energy from the sun, but meanwhile you're removing forest land. That's balancing carbon emissions. So we've been working on that, and we're in our second cycle because we had so much work to do. So that was one of the requests that we had, that we made, that we submitted. But I think what pertains to the Conservation Commission is the shared conservation agent. So while we were all, different, we have another group, we all meet through Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. We were discussing our needs, shared costs, shared expenses, how we can utilize the services of Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to bring increase a level of service to their member communities. And we found in our discussion that there was a need for a shared conservation agent by several of the communities. So we submitted, a couple of communities submitted a request for a shared conservation agent, and we were awarded the funding. So now we're working with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to craft a job description and so on and so forth. The conservation agent will work under the umbrella of Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. It wouldn't be an employee of each of the towns, but they would employ that agent and provide the service to the communities. And each of the communities would have a certain portion, a certain number of hours that they were given, or that the contractor would come in and serve the community. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to implement a pilot program to see how this can work into future budget expenditures. So we were awarded that also. So we were awarded all three. Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it won't start obviously until fiscal year 2021, we're in 2020. But we'll be meeting with Eric Weiss, who is the staff planner at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, who's going to be coordinating this effort. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of the towns that have been looking for a conservation agent but haven't been able to successfully fund the position.
So we've been awarded the grant. The grant was actually to pay an agent's salary.
This grant is to develop the position. I have asked for, under my capital planning expenditure, for a contribution so that we can compensate. We would pay Pioneer Valley Planning Commission this portion of money So I've made a request.
Would it be 1/3 because there's 3 towns? So we would, East Long Meadow would pay 1/3 of the salary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have a 45,000, say this, if you look in the salary database, let's use $45,000 as the salary. So each town would contribute $15,000 toward. The hourly wage, they would not be a contract, they would not be hired by the town, so we wouldn't be paying benefits and so on and so forth, all of the municipal benefits that come with a full-time employment package. And it would be straight hourly wage.
So this grant then is just to come up with this program?
To develop the program, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it doesn't cost, it's not, we're not paying for that. It's part of our district local technical assistance funding that's available to the membership communities.
You're gonna just lay out the guidelines for this position.
Yep. Yep.
And then the goal of developing this program is going to have a conservation agent hired by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission that will work for different communities.
Yes.
And communities will be paying, or the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission will be paying the conservation agent.
Yes, but we'll pay, so they'll send us a bill for their service, and we
Our
will pay
share,
them,
yeah,
yes.
our
Our-
Okay, so this bill will be based on the number of hours that they actually perform work in the town.
Correct.
I would just ask you, just keep us apprised of how it's going and
And we
let's take a
also,
look at the guidelines that you're
Yeah,
gonna put
let's-
forth.
So then, I guess my next question is, you mentioned about in your capital planning, putting some funds in there.
Mhm.
Where are you talking about putting those and for what specific purpose?
to pay Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for the agent?
How
So
much
you're
are
gonna allot funding for the agent moving forward after this grant money runs out to set up the guidelines for it.
I am hoping that's the way it will be, because you'll benefit greatly by this new position, and you'll want to have this permanent position created
going
under.
forward.
So are you putting that money in this year's budget to plan for an agent or no?
I have asked, our new budget year starts July 1st, 2021 is fiscal year 2021 begins July 1st. We have already met, we've already had our first meeting for budget, and next week I have my meeting for my capital requests with the town manager.
This will be on your list.
Yep, it is.
So it will not come out of the Conservation Commission money?
I'm asking, again, I have to
Okay.
petition, you know?
It might, right?
I don't have an answer for that yet. We're going to try and find the money.
You're gonna petition the town manager for the money, and then you're gonna put this together by March, May,
By May,
by May?
yes.
What figure are you thinking of putting in there for the funds?
15.
15.
I think personally it's a great idea. I mean, I think that there's a lot of work, and an agent would be a great asset. And if the town can find the money to, because Craig, you do an awful lot, I know you do. If you had assistants or, well, you had somebody that's a professional with guidance, that would just give you more time to do.
I honestly think we could keep a conservation agent busy for 20 hours a week for 6 months.
Well, I mean, there's no end if you really wanna come down to it, but.
You know, I mean, and I think that would, you know, be easily doable because, you know, if we just look at this Great Woods project, you know, that's something from 5 years ago, and that was, I think, before we were probably really doing the project monitoring, or right around when we started it, but, you know, obviously that's something we should have been in there, and we haven't been.
Will it be a full-time position
No,
Not at this,
divided by 3?
Yes.
It'll be full-time for the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission?
yes,
And we pay 1/3 of it?
yes.
That's fine. So 1/3 of 40 hours?
Well, it would be 12, well, we're 37.5.
it's hourly, it's
yeah.
however it falls, right?
So we would divide
With a
it,
cap of 15 per town.
So we were,
No, wait, I'm talking about how many hours would we get, I'm sorry.
so we work out 37.5 hours a week. So it would be divided,
About 12 hours.
12, I think it's 12.5.
That's
Did I
better than
math?
nothing.
Mhm.
It's a start, yeah.
It is, and that's what we're looking
I think
for,
it's
because
good.
we can talk until, the
I think
cows.
it's good, we should do it. Thank you.
And I'd like, I figure, my thought was, at least if we have a pilot program in place, then we can measure the cost benefit and show the successes and compare after a 3-year period of time, we'll be able to measure it and
That's very
provide that
good.
data. So instead of saying, I'd like, I want, I need, you need to be able to provide data, so.
Also, you're gonna call this a pilot program?
Yes, that's how I'm
So
introducing.
this is for you put a term on it, 1 year?
Well, my capital expenditure has to be a minimum of 3 years.
All right, so 3 years, and then if things go well, it will
It's
continue.
renewed, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Now, will the Conservation Commission be able to see the working papers as the job is being developed by Pioneer Valley Planning Board?
I think we'll be able to share that information with you, but I don't see why we wouldn't be able to let you
Well,
know the
yeah.
progress,
So if we had input, we could give it.
Well, you know what I would think of, if I were you, I'd see, you're going to the MACC conference, so maybe in your networking experience, you might chat with other commissioners and ask if they have an agent and what their agent provides for them, and then you can help incorporate that into the job description. I mean, right now, there's some general services that Conservation Commission, there's a sort of a level of general service that Conservation Commissions need. They need someone to conduct site visits. They need someone to process the paperwork and submit it correctly to DEP. The administrative work, provide reports to you when they do a site visit. So,
That's great.
and so they're just sort of basic skills, if you will, that are associated with a conservation agent. Generally, they generally have a bachelor's degree in
Right.
environmental science or one of the other earth sciences or natural sciences.
At the conference I went to in the fall, I actually talked to a conservation agent who does this exact thing. He works for several towns, and so they come to the conference, so I'll be looking,
Yeah.
looking for someone. If I had known, I would have got more information, but,
Yeah, there was some descriptions
I don't know what
that,
you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
there was some descriptions that Mark Stinson sent out a while ago. I
Amherst
believe, Amherst might have been, they were looking just for a full-time agent for themselves, and East Hampton was advertising for a part-time agent.
How would I find that? I wasn't on the commission then.
And
He
we tried
sent-
to
he
dig
sent us-
through an old email.
He
But-
sent us emails on it.
Okay, then you'll get.
Yeah,
back
Mark
to
just sent it to us for kind of a for your information thing.
Oh, okay.
These are what other communities are doing
Was
with
it
agents.
recent?
No,
No.
it was
6 months ago.
6 months
Yeah,
ago
so
at
I
least.
Yeah.
probably don't have it. So all right, we'll work on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I always like when I'm awarded grants that I've applied for. It makes me feel like,
Definitely.
Nice job.
thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was
Appreciate the compliment.
very helpful to us, thank you. And to you, to Bethany.
Well, I'd like to steal Bethany. We've got a housing production plan that we're working on, municipal vulnerability program, the master plan. What else are we doing? The biggie, well, the solar bylaw. So we've got some plans, some planning initiatives that we're trying to implement. And then, of course, we have our mixed-use village zoning district bylaw that's continuing to evolve. So I
Okay.
think,
Next item on the agenda was for the review of the plans, our review plans for comments from the planning board. We did get an email a while ago. There was 2 or 3 of them on there, but none of them really had anything to do with any areas that we had jurisdiction over.
So what you want to do is refer back to those plans and respond by saying, and what?
No comment. I'll make a motion, we respond to the planning board with,
Just
no
non,
comment.
I would prefer to say they're non-jurisdictional.
I'm fine with that,
Which
that
document?
they're non-jurisdictional and
Which document?
therefore we have
No comment.
no comment.
I don't know.
Excuse me, do we have a document related to that?
There's an email that came out
Oh,
a
okay.
couple weeks ago asking about a couple sites, there was 2 or 3 sites on it.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sure I got it.
Oh, so it was a Veterans Memorial, which is going to be installed in front of the Council on Aging. Are you familiar with that
Yeah.
project proposal?
Oh, yes, now I
Yeah, and Shaker Road, the new building.
No, no.
Site plan waiver for,
Wasn't it Shaker Road?
Council on Aging,
Shaker Road
Shaker Road was the other one.
was the new building
Oh,
by,
it's the second one.
Yeah, it was a site plan waiver or something.
by the vet clinic.
Okay, so that's the second
oh,
one.
was it attorney?
the new office building there.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And, you know, and that's what I was curious about, is because it seemed to me that we hadn't been getting all of these, but now all of a sudden we got these. As I do watch planning board meetings and attend them occasionally, and we definitely don't get a notice or an email about every waiver of site plan that comes before them. And I know some of them are just for a house, but a lot of them are other ones that are commercial properties that this person's moving out of this office building and this person is moving in there, and that was just why I questioned, how did we happen to get these two?
I think it's just easier for Bethany to batch when she's sending them out, to just send them out, as opposed to picking and choosing which ones may be seemingly applicable.
And I guess that's my point, I asked about this because I don't recall getting an email in a while about asking about this. I mean, it has been a few months.
I
And
could
so-
also send the planning board agenda, and if that's easier to read through and see if it's,
Mhm.
So what I used to do in my past practice is I would send the agenda and the packets to the commission. And the conservation agent would take the packet to the meeting, and they would look through the packet. That's how they used to do it, and they'd have the agenda, and then she would send me a letter following the meeting, and she would provide the comments. And essentially, they were outside the jurisdiction of the bordering vegetated wetlands, or she'd give some one-line comment, or she would actually say the applicant has to come before the Conservation Commission.
So it's just a yea or nay. It has something to do with us or it doesn't.
So maybe that's what we should do, is when the packets come in, just like Bethany does for the planning board, send you a copy of their agenda with the applicable cases listed, and you can look at them electronically, and then you can, the matter, you just have to be mindful of the date on the agenda when they're going to be heard. So you want to get your comments back in time for the planning board to receive them at the meeting. So it's on the agenda, it's always on the agenda, the comments. This has never been taken off the agenda, comments for the planning board, that I don't think. I just expanded them because I wanted you all to know where it comes from under site plan review. Why are you doing this? Well, under site plan review, 7.44 procedure, 7.441, the planning board shall transmit to the town engineer, Conservation Commission, Board of Health and Building Inspector, or other boards as deemed necessary, copies of the application and site plan. The board shall have up to 45 days to make recommendations to the planning board. So this isn't something new, it's
Except it says as deemed necessary.
other boards
So-
as deemed necessary. We have more boards.
Oh, okay.
So we have the zoning board of
So
appeals,
regardless
we have a
of
historical
whether-
commission, we have other boards.
Regardless of whether the
Right,
the
but
planning commission sees any wetlands or whatever,
Right, but-
regardless. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
if the procedures are being followed properly, though, the way I envision this, the applicant is coming to the Conservation Commission before they go to the planning board, and in most cases, before they even submit a filing to the planning board. Because they wouldn't want to come to us and have us change something in their filing and have submit that already to the planning board and then have to change their filing to the planning board. You know, if it comes into town and it needs to come back to the planning board, and if the planning board notices that there's some wetlands involved, they should be deferring, making judgment, or even really holding a hearing and doing anything before sending them back to the Conservation Commission, because we could essentially change everything on the plan.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes.
Well, I think that perhaps in the past, the practices weren't adhered to, and now we're here and we're making
Oh.
sure that we review our current regulations, our ordinance, our bylaw, rather, and following through on what was written in the past, but for whatever reason slipped away.
I would disagree with that. I would say the procedure worked fine in the past. You know, when they came in to, you know, to do a pool and they went into the building inspector saw there was a wetland there and said, no, you gotta go, you know, file a request for determination. So that's the way it has been working. It's not like this is new, but that is the way that's been going on since I've been on the commission.
Okay, Craig, so your point is well taken, but I will mention the Rear Pease Road project, and the applicant was going to completely bypass the Conservation
I'm
Commission.
aware of that, yeah. I mean,
So-
that was the only time that it happened. I was concerned as to how that happened.
Yeah.
And the planning board didn't kick it back to us. But anyway, that's water over the dam and that one's all done, but, okay.
We have to vote on his motion.
It just puts more work onto us before we get the conservation agent. Right? In other words, we have to review another thing.
Well, you can review them at the table, you should just open them up before you get them, but you have your comments at the meeting table.
I'm
you know-
assuming for the most part, it isn't going to be a time-consuming thing.
Okay.
Because if it's involved in an area that it's jurisdictional to conservation, it really shouldn't even be in front of the planning board yet.
So.
And that should be picked up when their file is submitted.
So on the building commissioner's request for zoning determination, there is a line that asks if it falls within the 200-foot buffer zone, 200 feet of the wetlands, rather. And so we try to catch things, you know, we do try our best, but sometimes applicants don't put the wetlands on the plans.
So this is a double check. This is like making
So,
sure.
so, you know, again, your point is very well taken, but we're trying to disseminate information so that nothing gets missed. And sometimes applications are presented concurrently, and depending on your meeting dates or the planning board's meeting dates, you know, sometimes there's a gap. But again, the point is that everybody needs to know what's going on in town. Okay?
So
Okay.
the motion. Did we vote on that?
No, we haven't. You were.
The no comment, non-jurisdictional, so no comment, on those two pieces.
What are the?
That was the Shaker Road and the senior center.
Council on Aging, yeah.
Council on Aging.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion, I believe the Fitzgeralds are here. I'll entertain a motion to again take the agenda out of order and move to number 10 to discuss the acquisition of land on Hamden Road.
Second. Oh, I'll make the motion. No, let me say it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please come on up.
I'll make the motion that, well,
Just to
he already
remind you.
laid it out,
Mhm.
so say so moved, so moved.
Thank you for having us.
Good evening, thank you for coming in. Sorry we had a little confusion.
Make the motion.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's all good.
Hi.
Hi. A few of us have been by, looked at the property, I've been by a couple times, and that sort of thing, and we thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
For, you know, thinking of the town and offering it up, you know, to be a recreational or more of an open space type thing as opposed to being developed. And you did just, I see, I'm looking at your letter that just came out, and you spend a lot of time with it, but if you wanna comment, please.
Yeah.
He's my conservationist by marriage, I'm the conservationist.
If you wouldn't mind, if you would just state your names and your address for
Oh, yeah.
the record.
Yeah.
Keith Fitzgerald, 28 Dartmouth Lane.
Carissa Fitzgerald, 28 Dartmouth Lane. Yeah, so we recognized, we weren't sure if this property would be of any interest, but what was happening was, it was a property that we purchased when I was farming it with Neil Pomeroy a few years back, and then we ended up kind of going separate ways with our business. So, I'm no longer farming that piece. We've been leasing it to Neil, since we purchased it for his own, and he's continued farming on it. And we were feeling like, we needed to unload it or sell it, that it wasn't working out for us to continue to own it and pay for it. So we did reach out to what we thought butters and some other people in town that maybe would be sympathetic buyers that would wanna continue farming it. That route didn't really yield any, conservation buyers. And then we kind of went a more traditional route, and we were entertaining offers by developers, or maybe people we thought were gonna be sympathetic to the farming, but every offer we got was to put like a 7-house subdivision in there, and that's sort of like, it's just against my blood to do that. So we said, hey, what if, if we need to sell, what if we find out that that this property is of interest to the town? I would hate to not run it by you guys, just to see if it was of conservation interest before we did made any other decisions. So that's when we wrote the letter to you guys a couple months back. And that's where we are now. So then I wrote that letter in response to your questions, with a hopeful price and our timeline, et cetera.
It's 7.5 acres
7.16 acres.
with access to Hamden Road?
Access on
Yeah,
Hamden and a right-of-way into that neighborhood behind.
And you'd be fine with either being conserved or farmed?
Yep, yeah.
And there was no farmers that were interested in, because it's flat tillable land.
I did offer it to farmers I knew in town and didn't get a reply.
Just wasn't a good
John didn't
puzzle
want
piece
it?
for him?
John Burnett
No?
wasn't interested?
No, he was not interested.
That's
Maybe he has enough
Yeah,
enough
oh,
land
yeah.
on his plate. And a few other people and some abutters that I thought, would be sympathetic. So far, all the people that I approached either said I'd love it and can't do it, or not interested right now. That's what happened. I recognize it might not be the right fit. It might not be ideal, town conservation
We can give you a
land.
copy here, but we discussed it at our last meeting also, and we sent it out, and unfortunately, it's something that we do not use a lot, because there's not a lot of people calling the Conservation Commission saying, hey, you want some land?
Yes.
And with the policy that we have on accepting land, and it applies to possibly purchasing land also, it meets some of the criteria, but in other ones it doesn't. A couple of places it's borderline. And we talked about this, and we actually, the policy at our last meeting, and it's actually from 1997, and so we said, we probably need to take a look at that policy, and consider revising it. So that is something that's on our to-do list, to actually make some changes to this, because it is 23 years old. And I know myself and a couple other people have had conversations off the record, I guess you could say, with some people in town, because, I'd like to just think out of the box. It's never been done before. What if the Conservation Commission owned it and we leased it out for farming? That's something, nobody's ever thought about it. It sounds nice, but obviously there's some logistics involved with making that happen that could be difficult.
Right, yeah.
But I guess right now, we appreciate you coming in, and if you could be patient with us for a little bit. I don't think this is something that's going to take us 6 months to do.
Okay,
I would think a couple months, and we should have some kind of yes, no, or what do you think about this?
okay, sure thing. Yep,
Yeah.
and I will continue to lease it to Neil Pomeroy for the year. And I did get some interest from another woman who actually is a new farmer. She's interested in doing some composting and maybe some chickens, and
Mhm.
so there is some local farming interest. If you're looking at that route, right now the property's about half open, about 3 acres I think he farms, and then you can see, if you looked at the maps, it's like half
Yeah,
woodlot.
we have one right up
We've
here.
got-
Yeah,
I
so-
printed out a color,
Yeah,
so.
Mhm.
it's an odd, it's landlocked by all
Yeah.
those houses, so it's not a traditional conservation property.
Mhm.
But thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate your work, thanks so much.
All right, appreciate you coming in.
All right.
Thanks for offering it to the town.
Yes, I appreciate your work. We'll be in touch. Right.
All righty. In back, we had a review of our accounts. I don't imagine it's changed too much since the last one. Was that in here?
It's not, we were trying to, get that from Sarah, and it doesn't look like, I'm just checking my email now, and she hasn't sent it to us.
Okay. All right.
So when she does send it, we'll email it out.
Okay, that'll be fun, yeah. I mean, and, this is a time where we haven't had a tremendous amount of activity, not a lot of filings and that sort of thing. Next item on the agenda was the review of the request for determination. I guess, and this got added to the agenda very late, request for determination of applicability for 461 Chestnut Street, and there's a bunch of comments in here from Mark Stinson pertaining to this filing. That looks like those just came in a couple days ago. And frankly, at this point, to be erring on the side of caution, I guess I will say, and I believe we need to table this to our next meeting. This has been an RDA that we've made a determination on. We can't really have a big discussion and make some changes on this tonight without having the applicant here, or we can be in violation of the open meeting law.
Those are those 4 pine
So I
trees
thought we
that
approved
determined.
this.
We
Yeah,
did.
we did.
So,
Yes.
because,
He
then
could
why,
removal of one
If,
and
he's topping,
topping the other 3.
right, and that's what we ruled on, but there's a whole page there with a bunch of questions and concerns from Mark Stinson that, like I said, I don't think it would be proper for us to be discussing this in detail tonight, without the applicant knowing about this.
well, let me ask you a
And-
question,
and-
is Stinson overriding us? I mean, because we've already made a determination on it.
Asking questions about it.
Basically, I think what we need to do is table it,
Right.
like Craig
You
says.
Look at these.
We
And-
need
and
to-
get John in here?
We need to individually read through all
Yeah.
of Mark Stinson's comments, go through the forms page by page, and then next meeting, we can,
Here's all the mistakes he makes.
And the applicant needs to be notified.
Yep.
We're talking about this and potentially making some changes in the RDA, then they definitely need to be notified.
Should we notify them immediately before he starts to, could be, cutting them down Friday? I think we
That's a
should
good
be-
point.
He should be notified
Jeff said he
as
was
soon
by
as
there a few days
possible.
ago.
I was-
I don't drive down that street, so.
I was down it last week, didn't see any difference.
yeah. No, I don't, so far, there's been no action taken. I have a feeling it's probably gonna wait till spring. But that being said, I think we should notify them
Right,
ASAP.
right away that this is gonna be brought up at the next meeting.
Tell them to put his thing on hold.
yeah, can you do that tomorrow, Bethany?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
We can't tell them to put it on hold. We already made a determination on it.
Well, that's what we're talking about now.
I know,
We
but
can
you
request.
can't,
We can ask.
you can ask, that's all you can do.
Mhm.
so,
But so we need to look at this and put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I have a question. So we've already voted on it, so the person can act on our orders that we already approved, right?
Absolutely.
But now Mark Stinson is saying he's representing them?
No, he's not.
No.
No, and this is where we can't be discussing this. You need to take this home and read it.
Can you just tell me who
He's
he
the
is?
circuit rider for the DEP.
Yeah.
Oh, Department of Public Works.
No,
No,
environmental
Environmental
protection.
protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not in East Long Meadow.
No, he works out of Springfield. He does all of Western Mass.
Okay, so
He
he's
is-
intervening in this case.
He represents the state of
Asking us-
He's
Massachusetts.
saying we should review it. I think that
Before
this is
the-
like a lesson, if you will. In other words, like, review this,
Because he
moving
sees some
forward,
issues.
right? You might
There's-
wanna,
There's some interesting things in here. You need to take your time and read it and study it and go through it again.
Okay, if I have questions, I'll ask you, because I'm not sure I understand it, that's the problem.
I
Yeah.
don't think he was commenting on how you voted on it, but how the form was filled out.
Okay,
That was the-
so
Yep.
it's a lesson, you're right.
right, I don't think that
So
it's
there's
gonna
no
change the
action from us.
determination.
There's
Yeah,
what?
no action on that particular, right?
We've already made an action, we've already
Right.
made a determination, so
So-
what we need to do is review it, review our
His
determination with
comments.
his comments.
Okay, thank you. Now I got it. Thank you. I didn't understand, so.
So do I make a motion to table this till the next meeting? Since we-
Sure. I'll entertain a motion to table this topic until the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
He's come up.
Yes.
As a- yeah. You have it in
Okay, I believe then our last item on the agenda would be policies and procedures of the Conservation Commission. The director really should be here for this, but
Could we call her back in? She's outside.
She's still in the room there, or.
yeah, I know.
Or you wanna table this until next meeting?
We can table it if she's not coming back in.
Sorry about that. I guess the first one is,
There she
these
is.
minutes didn't come out previously? Did those go out earlier and I missed it, or?
I thought I sent them out early.
I never saw anything on them.
I got an email, but I forget if it was Monday or. I don't remember. I could look on my phone, but.
I don't recall getting them, and that's just the reason I was bringing it up.
What are you talking about, the guidelines?
No, the minutes for our last meeting.
You sent the link, you know? And the agenda was there.
There was no minutes, it was just the agenda.
That's right. I went and looked, and under the archived minutes, it wasn't there either. That's right, because I remember seeing,
They won't be published until we've approved them.
oh, that's why, okay, so that's all we got, oh, sorry.
But, well, I guess then, just as a reminder, whether they did or didn't, and I don't recall getting them, then I asked Jeff about it, and he didn't have them either, but we have 10 days to have the draft minutes, you know, out to the commission, or that is an open meeting violation.
Excuse me. It is recommended that the meeting minutes be prepared within 10 days. It is not set in stone. Bethany does the best that she can to prepare the minutes in a timely fashion. She's doing minutes for 3 boards. 2 boards meet twice a month, you and the planning board. She's doing minutes for those meetings. She also does the meetings for the ZBA. She's doing the best she can, and she will present them to you in a timely fashion. But her time is limited.
I guess you're entitled to that opinion, but they definitely do need to be posted in 30 days. And and usually it's not a problem, that's why I just said it as a reminder. But, you know, I don't have time getting these here at the meeting to go through these and make sure that we vote on them, so we're not voting on them for another 2 weeks. So we're looking at a little bit over 35 days before these get posted. The next one, I guess, was another one. I know we've had some discussions about this, but and I'm supposed to be informed about changes to the agenda, and I don't believe I was notified about 461 Chestnut being added to the agenda, so I'll just point that out and then just leave it at that and move on.
Have we discussed 461 Chestnut while I was speaking with
We
them?
Yes.
agreed not to
Sure.
discuss it because the party wasn't present, but,
We didn't want to be committing an open meeting violation, so we did not discuss
well,
461 Chestnut.
I think that technically, because it's a review, we're just reviewing something that's already been approved and passed on. So my interpretation of the review is for our purposes only. Because unless you're under the impression.
Have you read that?
Well, are you under the impression that we're gonna reverse this? That's what you're.
I haven't
I'm
even read it, I don't even know what it's saying.
I read that
Today, because-
earlier when I was here, and I was just like, wow, we can't discuss that and go over all these things.
Okay,
Absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind we can't without the other person being notified.
right.
So
If you actually read this and what is being, the questions that are being raised in there, we definitely cannot act on it, I don't believe.
Okay, so,
And tabling it for 2 weeks isn't making or breaking it.
But wait, Tom had suggested that possibly Mark's email is just pointing this out to us as a lesson.
I would say it's
And not
not.
as an actual change.
I would say it's not. I read it, I was here early.
'Cause I haven't-
Bethany was here
haven't
very
had time
early.
to
But,
read it
but,
carefully.
but the thing is, none of us have even seen it.
Right.
We haven't read it, we don't know what it's
We
saying.
have to wait. Okay.
That's,
Thank you.
that's the
I
point.
agree.
We need
And
to
I-
err on the side of caution with open meeting law.
And we voted on it, right?
Yes,
It's
we
already
did.
done, yeah.
We just voted to table it, so.
Alright.
That's it. We just voted to move it to the agenda for next week.
We need time to look at it.
The next one that I had under policies and procedures, Jeff and I were just talking about some things on the phone a couple weeks ago or whatever, and we were looking at the website, and I can't believe I missed it before. But it's in regards to the submittal dates, or the submittal deadline for our meetings. It appears that they're pretty much all set, that the submittal deadline is a week before a meeting, and it's 3 weeks before the next meeting. Correct? And obviously, what I'm concerned about with this is,
They're all
if
21 days.
if we're doing this for our submittal deadline, it's extremely difficult for us to be having hearings within the 21-day requirement. Because if you look at, right here, if we look at it, December 18th was the submittal deadline for a January 8th meeting. January 2nd is the submittal deadline for a January 22nd meeting. January 22nd is the submittal deadline for a February 2nd meeting,
February 12th.
or February 12th meeting,
okay,
excuse
so,
me.
so your point is well taken, and we'll take a look at that, and you are absolutely correct. But please be mindful that when Bethany was preparing these, she was preparing for 3 boards.
I understand that.
Okay.
So
But we'll take
essentially what
another
we're
look
looking
it.
at,
Thank you.
so what we're looking at here is, and what, that needs to move, February 12th needs to be the deadline for the February 26th meeting. February 26th needs to be the deadline for the March 11th. And even those are real close with the 21-day regulation. They need to be after we have a meeting, it needs to be after that. And then in instances like this meeting right here, where we actually have 3 weeks between meetings, the submittal deadline needs to be a week and a couple days after our meeting.
Yeah, I think she just said you're right, and then we'll look at it.
Well,
Why, Jeff, do you wanna make a motion that we change it, or,
I already went through and corrected all the dates.
oh, so you,
So if you want to just take that, you can pretty much just correct the dates by there.
Thank you.
And some of the days, I backed them up because there's a holiday in some weeks, like in November. So I backed it up a couple days from the meeting would be on a Wednesday, I backed it up to the submittal deadline to be on Monday, because that, most every one of those gives you at least 4 days from time to submittal before the ad would have to go into the reminder, if it goes into the reminder, or whatever.
So, speaking of the reminder, I don't know if I was hearing incorrectly today, because I went searching for it, but I was listening to NPR, and I heard that the reminder's last publication is...
It's gonna discontinue?
Yeah.
Oh, really? The
Yeah.
reminder?
Did you hear
I'm
it too?
not surprised.
I'm not
So-
surprised.
Wouldn't
No, I'm
surprise me,
shocked
yeah.
that they bought it and they were carrying on with it,
Oh,
to be
no.
honest with you.
Yeah.
That's our
So,
loss,
I guess that solves that problem of where we're gonna publish. But, you know,
It'd have to be in the spring.
I guess if that's gonna be the case, and I'm assuming it's just not happening now, I would like to go back to some of what we were doing before, because I still strongly believe that people do not see it in the Springfield Republican compared to the reminder, but if we're having a public hearing about something, can we go back to putting it on LCAT and putting it on the town website?
It's always on the town website.
Oh, in the agenda?
Yep.
Saying, yeah. Or maybe on the front page of the conservation page or something, but I remember there was quite a few times, and we put them up there and just have a slide, and I think sometimes you can even fit 2 public hearings on a slide that went by on LCAT.
As well as putting it.
I know I did a bunch of them with, I forget her name, and it was easy.
If we get them, we'll put them up.
Yep,
And is that in addition to putting them in the Republican?
yeah.
We have to do that, okay.
Mhm. It still does concern me, because,
It's all
yeah,
about the
that's,
money, yeah.
it's tough, because, you know, the Republican just doesn't, but maybe if the reminder goes out of business, the Republican will reach more people.
Well,
They better
Republican-
lower their rates, otherwise they're not
The
gonna get anybody.
Republican owns the reminder, that's the problem.
Right.
So
Yeah,
they want
mhm.
people to buy newspapers.
Yep.
And you're losing memberships.
Yeah, and just the other one, and it might have just been a misstep, but it was with this, the stuff with the PC, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Then I just asked, you know, a while ago when it got put on the agenda, if you could have forwarded that to us, Connie, which I'd be happier if we got it in an email, so we could actually spend some time with it, because it is about 8 pages, and so I can't read it here all at the meeting, and I would love to be able to read things like that prior to seeing them at the meeting for the first time. So if we could just try and work on that, I would greatly appreciate it.
You're talking about the letter that was submitted to Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, the
Mhm.
application?
Mhm.
Well, Craig, you know,
I just asked in an email if you could forward it to us before the meeting, that's all.
so, Craig, I run an office and I run a department, and I'm thrilled that you're interested in knowing everything that goes on in my department, from ordering paper clips to the
I'm not the
email
least
I
bit
send.
interested in that.
But, you know, again, I'm operating an office, and you become a little too involved in my office procedures, Craig, is what I'm saying. So I thank you for your continued interest, but it's my department and it's my office. And
I
these
guess
are
it-
letters that I submit that go to the planning commission that really, as a courtesy.
I'm not asking for the letter, all I was asking for, maybe you're misunderstanding me. When it was added to the agenda, I asked if you could forward it to the commissioners.
Well,
So we wouldn't be seeing it for the first time here at the meeting. So if that's stepping into your office procedure, I guess I'm sorry, but I don't think it is. All I'm trying to do is be better prepared for our meeting, that's all. You disagree with that?
I have nothing else to say, Craig.
Okay. Does anybody have anything further?
Make a motion to adjourn at 7:08.
That's a record for us lately. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.